What's up, everyone? This is NoraCat back again. Today I'm going to go over every deck that was played at the Duel Masters 2 deck tournament. Sorry about the long wait for this video if you guys have been waiting for it, but it is finally out. Now, let's take a look at all the deck lists that were played in the 2 deck tournament. So, first off, let's take a look at Mikkel's Beastfolk Mafia deck. So, this deck was really cool. I really enjoyed playing against this deck. I don't know what it was. I just feel like the Petrova versus Petrova matchups are always really funny because it's pretty much whoever sticks Petrova first or is able to kill the opponent's Petrova while they have one on the board or whatever. Like it's very much like like tactical warfare. Like just kill the enemy's biggest thing and then or like most important thing and then get your own important thing into play. Now this deck is really really cool. It has a lot of the beast folk. I like that he runs fire, basically just to play Gauntlet, but he has a Apocalypse Vice as well. He also has 4 Holy Ores, which is pretty standard. Sniper Mosquito to take back his cards. He has obviously Bronze Arm. Cavern Raider is a card you don't see a lot, but it can be pretty good in certain circumstances. Fighter Dual Fang as well. Now the problem I see with this deck mainly is that he doesn't have a lot of shield triggers. He has tried to kind of go for a kind of a mana burn thing. He does have mana crisis as well as slash and burn, but the problem is that he doesn't have a lot of shield triggers that actually impact the opponent's creatures. Like he has Holy Aura, that's about it. So if he, the chances of having if you have 4 triggers that impact the board, you have a very small chance of actually seeing a Holy Aura shield. Especially when he has no like shield manipulation. He runs no natural snares. I don't think he has any left. I think he might be running in Dragon deck instead. But he could be running something like Phantom Dragon's Flame or even something like Burst Shot could be good, even though he does have a lot of 2,000 less creatures. But generally, that was the biggest problem with this deck is that he didn't have a lot of shield triggers, so he just kind of got overrun by decks that had more shield triggers or had aggressive starts really. Because this is a deck that has to swing in. It is also a deck that can't really afford to have a bad start. It needs like Gauntlet on turn 2. It needs Bronze Arms. It needs Bronze Arm into Mysterious or into Petrova. But overall, it's a pretty solid deck. I like the Fist of Forever. It's actually a card that surprised me quite a bit in this tournament. It's one of those cards that you don't see a lot either, but I've actually started playing it a little bit as well because it's one of those cards that can kind of swing back. Especially Holy War, it's a really cool combo. You can tap everything. Fist of Forever, you're like giant thing, and they just like kill everything and take a shield, or 2 shields if it's double rare. Not a terrible deck, but definitely could be improved. I feel like. Yeah, it has some game, but I think that lack of shield triggers is really what held it back. Then we have Mikkel's Dragon deck. Now this deck is really cool again, but it does have more shield triggers, which definitely helps a lot. It does have the Fairy Lives, but it also has the Natural Snares and Terror Pits. I still think it's a little bit light, on shield triggers still. I mean, there's definitely more than in Dragon deck, but it still has the issue of like getting overrun by fast decks. Um, the thing is though, like I think it has a much better matchup against decks that are a little bit slower. It runs obviously Machine Dozark, whatever the card's name is, which is really strong. It can kill or put things into opponent's mana zone when you attack with another dragon. It has a lot of one-offs because it does have Chamilia. Obviously, something like Eureka Dragon, or Villarika Dragon is what it's called, is really what this thing needs. I feel like, but otherwise, it's a pretty standard, pretty good dragon deck. Like it's very similar to what you see on like something like the Gauntlet, but I think his dragon deck is like just fire nature. But if you put in darkness, you can run things like Dimension Splitter. You can run Terror Pits, but you can also run things like Necro Dragon Giland, which is kind of a good evolution bait for things like Uber Dragon Bajula. I think this is a cool deck, but again, like a little bit light on the shield triggers, and I think that if this deck is going to be improved, I think there needs to be more shield triggers because there's plenty of Evo bait. You can definitely evolve your dragons whenever you want. There's no issues with that. Um, the biggest problem is just the lack of shield triggers again, which is unfortunate because I think that's the issue here is that like I would definitely just like instead of playing nature, I'd probably just play water. I know that sounds kind of weird because you want to ramp with the dragon deck, but I think the card draw as well as the aqua surface is more important. I think if I build a dragon deck, I would probably make it like either fire, water, darkness. I just feel like the card draw is so important in this kind of deck that, and also because you have Kukulupia, which kind of is like a ramp anyway. So anyway, I'm not gonna like critique too much. I feel like it has some game and it definitely did okay in the tournament. And dragons is kind of like already not the best kind of strategy. I feel like it can definitely be improved, but Dragon's already kind of like a mid-tier kind of strategy. No matter how you build that deck, there's going to be definitely better things you can be doing in the game. Um, but I think it's a good deck for what it is. I think it's a very good Dragon deck for what it is actually. And then we have Nino's decks. The first one is a Marinomancer deck with the twist. It definitely doesn't play like most Marinomancer decks. We'd actually call it Faustinomancer. It's like a Marinomancer deck with Lightbringers. So you can instead of running Initiates, you run a little Lightbringers. Um, Now, what is really cool about this deck is that it's very aggressive. It has a lot of like really early drops, like Talk. So you can just play Talk and just get in there, And sometimes you just lose because turn one Talk is like Deadly Fighter. It's kind of annoying, except it doesn't have to attack. It's actually a really annoying deck to play against. There's so many triggers, and it has um, things like Forest the Oracle to get back your Holios, to get back your Terrapits, to get back your Procs, get back your Zombie Carnivals to replenish your hands when it dies. It's really annoying to play against. I know it doesn't seem like the most insane deck when you look at it from here, but I promise you this deck is super annoying. It runs like how many triggers? 8, 9, 10, 11 triggers? No, with Therapists as well, 12, 13, 14, 15 triggers. Yeah, this deck is annoying. I can't really explain it. It's like kind of a mid-range kind of deck, but it sometimes it almost plays like a rush deck, and then you can also play like a control deck. It's very like multi like layered, and I think Neo did a really good job of building this deck. I was really when you told me about the whole like Marinomancer with like Lightbringer thing, I was getting kind of like, is that good, And then he brought it, and he definitely brought it for sure because this deck is annoying to play against. It's super annoying to play against, and it's very good at like replenishing hand and like establishing board presence with Tachimals, and it has Palaolesis in there as well, so you can't just like kind of like Searing Wave it and be done with it all the time, So it's 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 annoying. A lot of the light creatures have like 500 power, so they actually get buffed up to survive burst shots, even though they're weak because of Palaolesis, and stuff like that. So very annoying deck, and very like well thought of deck by Nino. I think that if you put in some other things, like maybe you can put in some evos or something like that, but in general, I just think it works the way it does. Actually, I don't know how to improve this deck. I think it's really strong, and very cool, like kind of um, spin on the like Marinomancer kind of build that you don't see often. So yeah, congratulations to Nino on creating such a cool deck. I really enjoyed this deck and surprised me a lot. Then we have Nino's second deck, and this is the one that I was the most afraid of when the whole tournament was going, because how do you beat the late game? Like the late game of this deck is insane. Like it has so many like ramp options with a bunch of spells. Like it has like a bunch of chargers. Like it has Slash Charger, it has Volcano Charger, it has Eureka Charger, it has Mana Bonanza, it has Bliss Totems, bunch of draw, board wipes, board clears, Spasica Seals, discards, removal, shield triggers, blockers. It's like 50 cards or something, but it's like a deck out deck at the core. I think is what does with Slash Charter. So sometimes it deck you out because it has 50 cards in the deck, so you can just kind of like play the lane game until it decks you out and not care about the shield triggers. Um, but like the thing about this deck is, that, in our meta at least, no deck can beat the late game with this deck. You cannot beat the late game of it. Like there's no deck that can do that, and that's really where the deck shines, because it can just kind of lame you out until it gets to a late game, and that's really what it's trying to do. Like it doesn't care about the early game at all. It just wants to play Slash Charge on free, go into some some blockers or some board clears, and just kind of like play that kind of lane game where it just kind of establishes a board. I don't even establish a board, just even like removes the opponent's board, or just like starts removing the cards from their deck or discard their cards. It's a mad annoying deck. Like it's mad annoying, and like I noticed that when I play against deck, I just had to kind of rush it. I couldn't in any way, shape, or form play like kind of a game where I tried to like match it in terms of late game. I had to play extremely like focused on just kind of killing it quick. It's obviously very weak against rush, but then again, it does have a lot of shield triggers, so maybe not. Maybe you can definitely win against rush because if you start establishing, a presence or control, that's when it starts to get rough for most decks. The thing is, it takes a while to do so. It definitely takes a while. But once it does, man, it's impossible to beat it. Nino just sitting there dirtling, until he wins basically, until the opponent has enough scoops. Like it's rough, and many people in the tournament, including myself, were getting a bit annoyed at this deck. I think a little bit annoyed, like just the way it played, because it's extremely greedy. But in a good way. I think this deck is the best deck out deck in our format. Like 100%. This is the deck of our format for sure. Moving on to Casper's decks. This is a Marinomancer deck, but obviously it's very standard. I'm not trying to say that in like a mean way or like uncreative way. I'd be like, oh, you just made like a standard. No, but it is just like a Marinomancer deck. It runs a lot of initiates. It has Tajimals and runs a very small water package, so that you can make sure you get 2 to 3 cards every time you play Marinomancer. It has Crazed Valkyrie, which is a really hard card to get. I feel like, especially now, no many people have, not a lot of people have any Crazed Valkyries. Um, Casper is the kind of guy that wants to only play English cards, so he doesn't have any Japanese or German cards or whatever. He refuses to play any cards that aren't English, which I can respect. I think that's a cool thing to do. Now, the card that surprised me most about this deck is Glory Snow. I feel like it's one of those cards that just doesn't do much. I felt like, but you can charge it if you don't need it. But it actually did something in one game. I feel like I remember one game where he got like a lot of mana from it, like 2 mana, and then it always gives 2 mana, but he gets 2 mana, and then he can play like Crazy Nest next turn, which was kind of cool. I think that's what happened in that game. It was something like that. The Marus is interesting. I don't think it's like a bad card anymore. I used to think the Marus was kind of like a shit card, but it actually is really good because you can get it back with Zombie Carnival and stuff. You can get it with Marino. You can usually you want to say like initiate. Sometimes maybe you want to get that back for some reason. I don't know. But mainly it's there to like hit with Marino and just play early game to kind of fend off Rush, and just fill out the Darkness count. This deck is cool. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a cool deck. It's a really really cool deck, and it has a lot of game. And I think that it definitely embodies the soul of the Marinomancer archetype as a deck. Um, Better than most I've seen. I think it has enough shield triggers. Now I would probably just cut the Glory Snow and play 4 Holy Horse. I know that's like kind of that's my thing. I just think Holy Horse is so powerful that you should probably play 3 to 4 of them in every deck. The Crazed Valkyrie helps a lot in this deck as well. I think it's really hard to build a Marinomancer deck without running Crazed Valkyrie. It just has so much good synergy with the initiates of the deck. Tajimal, Sarius, and also Magris. So it's really hard to build actually Meal as well. It's really hard to build a deck without, like, Marinomancer deck without Crazed Valkyrie. You really have to think outside the box if you don't own that card. Which is one of the reasons I haven't tried to build a Marinomancer deck yet, is because the Crazed Valkyrie is such an important piece of finisher. Like, it's a boss monster deck that it's just very difficult to, you know, make the deck work without that. Yeah, other than that, there's not really much to say about the deck. It was a great deck, and I had a lot of trouble with it in the tournament, especially when I played my Liquid People deck. It always felt like I got him down to like 0 shields or 1 or something, and then he just stabilized and started putting up blockers and tapping my creatures and killing them. So yeah, really strong deck. Very well thought of. I think that it's definitely one of the strongest decks in the tournament, and one of the ones that you have to really look out for. Yeah, great deck. Great deck from Casper. Let's move on to the next one. Now, Casper's other deck is his Veggie Striker deck, which is what he has named it, because it's a Wave Striker deck that wants wild veggies. So Veggie Striker just kind of came naturally and rolls off the tongue. I think the big thing to take away about this deck is that it's the Comet Eye Spectral Spot. That's really the big like piece of this engine. Once you get him out, it's really difficult. If you have like some Wave Strikers, it's really difficult for the opponents to do anything. They need like a big board wipe. But because the Merle is like powering up your other Wave Strikers, as well as your creatures, it can like dodge a lot of the conventional board wipes, like Searing Wave sometimes, or even something like Burst Shot. So it's just a really like hard deck to deal with once it gets to that point. And I was playing against this with my Twin Cannon deck in one game, and I just got absolutely destroyed. I was sitting and holding my Searing Wave in hand, and I just was not able to like kill any of his creatures because they were all powered up. I think he had 2 Merles in play or something. It was ridiculous. This is a really cool deck. It has a lot of shield triggers. It runs the 4 Holy or the 4 Surfers, and it has 3 Emeralds to set up the shields. And overall, it's just a really, really cool deck. It's not like the most amazing deck in the world. It does have some issues, I'd say. One thing that it could definitely be rushed down quite hard, and also that it might not be able to sustain itself long enough, it's kind of in a sweet spot where it needs to win fast, but like it needs to win before like the control decks get online, which can be kind of difficult because you're so reliant on the wave striker synergy that sometimes you might not be able to push for that like aggressive win really fast. But other than that, it's a really cool deck, and I really like the originality of it. I love how like it's almost made as kind of like his deck. It just feels like his like personal like main deck, if that makes sense. If my like Liquid People deck is my kind of like own design with like the three colors, then this is definitely Casper's like own Striker deck, which is his like personal thing. I've never seen a deck like this ever, not even online. It's very unique, and that's what I really like about it, is that it's a deck that feels very unique to play against, and just overall built to be unique and built to be fun. So, and actually is quite powerful when it does get that sweet spot with the three Wave Strikers as well as the common spectral spot into play. It's really difficult for someone to do anything about it because he just keeps untapping all his creatures every turn. Um, Great, it does have a lot of quite a bit of card draw with the energy stream, and it does have quite a bit of shield manipulation with the surface and holy ore. So I'd say it's quite a strong deck. Definitely recommend trying something like this out if you have the cards, but not a lot of people have 4 spectral spots to try. And moving right on to my decks, this is the Waterfire Nature Aggro deck. Now, it's a bit different from the previous versions you've seen on the channel, and actually, the current version that I'm playing is actually very different from this, so I might make a new video going over that in the future, but anyway, this is the one I was playing in a tournament. I was able to trade for a Gargoyle Dragon before the tournament started, and then my thought process was just like, okay, well, we have one Galc life against the light decks, so maybe we just put in 2 Dimension Gates. If we don't have Robbing Terrorhorns, I don't know any of those, and then we just kind of search out for it, as well as cut down on the Twin Cannon, and then we just kind of run, kind of an aggressive deck and try for the best, and it ended up working quite well. I will say that this deck has some issues. It lacks the 2 drops, which really hinders it in the early game. It does have, I think, a little bit of card draw would be nice, or at least like cards that drew more cards. But I've since changed this deck a lot, so obviously it's not as good as it is now, like at this point. But it's still, quite a good deck. It does have the 4 surfers. It does have the spiral gates to deal with early threats, and it does have the 4 cannon shells as well as the Searing Waves just to deal with the aggression as the Galglyph, and as well as the Wind Axe to do a blockers. 4 Pyrofighters. That's the only thing I'm kind of missing, is that the 4 Pyrofighters was very important to this kind of deck. And right now, I think I'm running 3 Pyrofighters, which is kind of not as good. I think the 4 Pyrofighters in this kind of deck is very important because it's all about getting in there fast and just kind of wrecking shields. And if you have 4 Pyrofighters, you can actually play 2 of them in, like, for example, if you do like if you do Wind Axe turn 5, you don't have to play mana turn 6. You can play 2 Pyrofighters, and that's usually kind of devastating. There's like 3 attackers on turn 6, which is in addition to all the other attacks that you might have had before that. Which is really like just an annoyance and a pain in the butt to deal with for the opponent. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a great deck. Obviously, I've changed it since this, but it definitely worked for the tournament. And yeah, if you want to know more about this deck, I have uploaded a few videos on it where I go over some of it in more detail, or at least the idea of it. Even though they aren't quite this version, they're definitely very similar. Moving on to the last deck, and finally the Liquid People deck. So this deck is a bit different now than it was when the tournament was happening. I found out that the problem with this deck was that I didn't really have enough like creatures to like finish the job. Like, for example, I would like get them down to 1 or 2 shields against like control or something, because against control you want to play kind of aggressive, and I found out that I didn't have enough juice, and also I couldn't always like, sometimes I would have to play like a tap mana because I have a lot of multi shifts, and I need like a light mana to play like a Petrova or like a Holy or something, or a Tachimol. So the current version actually is a bit different. I have taken out a Tachimol, and I've taken out a Energy Stream, and I put in 2 Magaris with Sea of Magnetism. The reason for that is because it draws me a card when it comes in. It's a 3k body, so it dodges burst shot, and also it's able to draw me a card to replace itself, right? So it's also an initiate, which actually there's like a few initiates. There is 2 other initiates in the deck, which is Stall and also Tajimol, also initiate. So sometimes I can like stay initiate with Patrol and buff them, which sometimes comes in handy if you really want to like do that. I found out that it works really well to kind of get that last push that you might need to like finish the game off. But other than that, it's pretty much the same deck as it was in this tournament. Like nowadays, it's pretty much the same deck. It still has the crazy amount of shield triggers and the Melnias and all that. So the Crystal Paladin and all those things. So it does work really well, and I'm very happy to say that it's definitely become my favorite deck and the main one that people kind of know me for is this deck. So yeah, I'm very very happy I won this tournament. I was very scared of some of the decks, like especially Nino's deck and also Casper's Marinomancer deck, as well as the Beast Folk actually gave me a bit of trouble in the first game we had and some of the other games. So the dragons as well was really fun to see. So although the matchups against the dragons were very good for me, so I couldn't really like complain about that. I mean, that deck just had a really hard time against both of my decks, so the matchup was kind of like in my favor most of the time against that. I'd say my hardest matchups was definitely the like the four color deck out deck that Nino had, and also the Marino Man's deck that both of them had actually. So those were my hardest matchup. I mean, Vegas Strikers was annoying, but it wasn't like impossible to beat. I think I definitely had some options against that. I felt like Nino's deck was the hardest because when he like got to a point where he just stabilized, it was impossible to beat him in the late game. So yeah, well, thanks for watching this tournament. This is the last video I'll be posting about this tournament, and I hope you guys enjoyed all the videos and all the duels I was able to record. Um, I know there'll be a big tournament later on this year. It hasn't been a lot of information about it, so it still is pretty unsure. But it looks like it's going to be in September, so I can't really wait for that. I'm really excited about that tournament and see how that goes. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Uh, this has been an awesome, awesome tournament to kind of make big videos on, and I hope that I can definitely make more videos in the future about coming tournaments or just like duels or deck lists. Definitely have some more videos coming in like very soon. I'm definitely working on some deck profiles, and maybe there's going to be some video duels as well. So stay tuned for that, everyone. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video and stay safe, everyone.